Right. Let's cut the crap and dive headfirst into this Kobe Bryant case.
Okay.
You know, the one from back in 2003, the sexual assault case?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone thinks they know the whole story, right? NBA superstar, the Black
Yeah.
Mamba, all that.
Yeah.
But today we're going to like peel back the bullshit and get into the nitty-gritty
Okay.
of what the hell went down in that Colorado hotel room.
Right.
No hero worship here.
Yeah.
No bashing Kobe, just the raw facts
Okay.
and what they might mean.
Yeah.
So to start,
Sure.
can you set the scene for us? Like, what led to this whole thing?
Okay, so rewind back to June 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe was in Colorado for knee surgery.
Okay.
He was staying at the Lodge and Spa at Cordillera.
Fancy.
Yeah, it was a pretty swanky hotel in Edwards.
Okay.
It was on July 1st when he encountered the 19-year-old employee.
Right.
And that's where things get complicated.
Complicated is putting it mildly.
Yeah.
From what I remember, Kobe first denied having sex with her at all.
Mm-hmm.
Then when the cops showed him evidence, he changed his story
Mm-hmm.
and said it was consensual.
Right.
What the hell was that about?
So his initial statement to the police denied any sexual contact.
Right.
But when investigators revealed they had physical evidence,
Right.
and we're talking semen here,
Yeah.
Kobe admitted to having sex, but maintained it was consensual.
Okay.
So it definitely raised questions about his credibility right from the start.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't just the back and forth about the sex itself. There's that whole strangling thing, right?
Yeah.
Kobe admitted to putting his hands on her neck during sex,
Uh-huh.
said it was like his thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you explain that?
That detail is pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
In the police interview, Kobe described holding her from the back and around her neck while they were having sex.
Jesus.
He even went so far as to say he had done this with previous sexual partners.
Really?
Yeah, not his wife. And that his hands were strong.
What the
I think that detail really stuck in people's minds.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Then you get the T-shirt stained with the accuser's blood.
Mm-hmm.
And get this, semen and pubic hair from another man were found in her underwear during the rape exam.
Right.
Talk about a bombshell.
Yeah.
What the hell was going on here?
It definitely threw a wrench in things.
Yeah.
Remember, there were conflicting accounts and different interpretations of the evidence. That's where the legal teams come in, right?
Okay, yeah.
The prosecution had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Kobe had committed rape,
Mm-hmm.
while the defense was all about poking holes in the accuser's story and creating reasonable doubt.
Yeah, classic legal maneuvering.
Yeah.
So how did Kobe's lawyers plan to spin this whole thing?
The defense strategy was pretty standard in these kinds of cases.
Okay.
Attack the accuser's credibility.
Mm-hmm.
They highlighted her mental health history,
Okay.
questioned her motives for accusing Kobe, and basically tried to paint her as unreliable.
Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, it's a tactic that often works, unfortunately.
It's all about planting that seed of doubt in the jury's mind.
Exactly.
But hold on, wasn't there a letter from the accuser
Yes.
where she backtracked on some of her initial statements? Didn't that change things?
You're bringing up a crucial point.
Okay.
A few weeks before the trial was set to begin, the accuser wrote a letter to investigators.
Mm-hmm.
In this letter, she clarified certain details from her initial interview with the police.
Okay.
She admitted to lying about some things, like having car troubles.
Oh, wow.
And Kobe forcing her to wash her face.
So basically, she admitted to lying to the cops.
Right.
How the hell did that impact the prosecution's case? Did it totally screw them over?
It definitely weakened their position.
Oh.
The defense now had ammunition to argue that if she lied about these details, what else was she lying about?
Mm-hmm.
It raised serious questions about the reliability of her entire account.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a big blow to the prosecution.
Right.
But let's not forget the pressure this girl was under. Death threats. Her personal info leaked to the press.
Yeah.
Media scrutiny, 247. That's going to be a living hell, especially for someone so young.
The level of scrutiny and harassment she faced was intense.
Yeah.
The media attention was relentless,
Right.
and she was subjected to a lot of public attacks.
It's messed up, no doubt.
It's a sad reality of high-profile cases,
Yeah.
and it highlights the potential consequences for victims who come forward.
So what happened in the end? Did they ever reach a verdict?
They didn't, actually.
Oh, really?
In September 2004, the criminal case was dismissed.
Wow.
The reason.
Okay.
The accuser decided she couldn't go through with testifying.
Wait, so after all that drama, it just ends?
Pretty much.
No trial?
No trial.
No verdict?
Yep.
What the hell?
You got it.
Wow.
Without her testimony, the prosecution's case fell apart.
Okay.
Charges were dropped.
Yep.
And Kobe was free to go.
Hold on. So she goes through all that, then just walks away.
Yeah, she filed a civil lawsuit against Kobe, though.
Okay. And what was the outcome of that? Spill beans.
Well, in 2005, the civil lawsuit was settled out of court.
Ah, the classic out-of-court settlement.
Yeah.
So how much did Kobe have to cough up?
The specific terms of the settlement were never made public,
Yeah.
but legal experts estimated it was over $2.5 million.
Damn, $2.5 million to make it all go away.
Yeah.
But didn't Kobe also issue a public apology? Did he finally admit to doing something wrong?
He did apologize, but it was a carefully worded statement.
Okay.
He apologized for his behavior that night
Right.
and the impact it had on the accuser, but he didn't admit to rape.
So he's sorry for his behavior, but not for the alleged rape itself.
Yeah, he maintained his innocence throughout.
Pretty slick, I guess.
Yeah.
So after all this went down, what happened to Kobe? Did it affect his career at all?
It's interesting because despite the allegations and the intense public scrutiny,
Yeah.
Kobe's career didn't really suffer in the long run.
Interesting.
He signed a massive contract with the Lakers, regained some of his endorsements, and went on to win more championships.
Damn, talk about bouncing back.
Yeah.
Seems like the whole thing didn't really stick to him,
Yeah.
at least not in the public eye.
You could argue that
Okay.
for many, he remained a beloved figure and a basketball icon. But let's be real.
Yeah.
The allegations always lingered in the background.
True.
There was always that elephant in the room.
And let's not forget that in 2018,
Yeah.
he was removed from a film festival panel after a petition was started regarding his past.
That's right.
Yeah.
The hashtag #MeToo movement brought renewed scrutiny to the case. And some people felt his presence at the festival was inappropriate,
Yeah.
given the allegations against him.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
So even years later, the case continued to haunt him.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered the initial encounter, the conflicting accounts, the legal battles,
Yeah.
the media frenzy, and the impact on Kobe's life. But what about the actual hotel room itself? Oh, what happened to the scene of the alleged crime?
About 8 months after the incident, the hotel underwent renovations.
Renovations, you mean they remodeled the whole place?
Yeah.
Did they at least keep the furniture from Kobe's room?
I don't think so.
I bet those pieces would fetch a pretty penny on eBay.
Not quite.
Okay.
The hotel actually disposed of all the furniture from Kobe's room.
What?
It wasn't offered for sale or anything.
That's crazy.
The building itself was eventually sold in 2019.
Okay.
And get this,
What?
converted into a drug treatment facility.
A drug treatment facility. From alleged rape to rehab. Talk about a change of scenery.
It's certainly an interesting turn of events.
Okay, so we've really dug into the nitty-gritty of this case.
Yeah.
We've got the evidence, the legal back and forth,
Right.
and the lasting impact on Kobe's life. But the truth is,
Yeah.
we're left with more questions than answers.
That's the thing about this case.
Yeah.
It's full of ambiguity and unanswered questions.
What do you think? Was justice served? Or did Kobe manage to weasel his way out of it?
I can't answer that definitively.
Okay.
Ultimately, it's up to each individual to form their own opinion based on the available information.
Fair enough.
We've laid out the facts, and now it's up to you to decide.
It's a tough one to call.
Yeah.
But what does this whole mess tell us about power, celebrity, and consent?
Yeah.
What does it say about how we handle these kinds of accusations, especially when a big shot celebrity is involved?
It shines a light on the complexities of sexual assault allegations.
Okay.
Particularly when you've got a high-profile individual like Kobe.
Right.
It raises serious questions about power dynamics, the influence of fame and wealth,
Yeah.
and the challenges of seeking justice in a system that often favors the rich and powerful.
Well said.
Yeah.
It seems like this deep dive has opened up more questions than it's answered.
That's often the case with complex issues.
Yeah.
Sometimes the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know.
Damn, that's deep.
It's a reminder to approach these topics with nuance and critical thinking,
Okay.
to consider all sides of the story.
So where do we go from here? What lessons can we take away from this whole Kobe Bryant saga?
I think it serves as a stark reminder that we've still got a long way to go in terms of understanding and addressing sexual assault.
Right.
We need to keep having open and honest conversations about consent,
Yeah.
power dynamics,
Okay.
and the importance of believing and supporting survivors.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping us unpack all of this.
It's been a fascinating discussion.
All right, that's it for part 1 of our deep dive into the Kobe Bryant sexual assault case.
Okay.
Join us for part 2, where we'll explore the public reaction to the case,
All right.
the media frenzy that surrounded it, and the impact it had on Kobe's legacy. Stay tuned.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Kobe Bryant sexual assault case. We've just finished dissecting the initial events and the conflicting accounts from the night of the alleged assault, as well as the legal strategies employed by both sides. Now let's shift gears and talk about something we haven't touched on yet. The public's reaction to all of this. You know, this shitstorm hit the media like a hurricane. So how did people react to this whole Kobe fiasco?
It was a media frenzy, for sure. But what I'm really curious about is how the public actually reacted. You had Kobe fans defending their idol, while others were calling for him to be crucified. It must have been a wild time to be on social media.
Public opinion was definitely divided, no surprise there. You had some people who firmly believed Kobe's claims of consensual sex, seeing him as a victim of a false accusation. They stood by him, pointing to inconsistencies in the accuser's story and questioning her motives. On the other side were those who believed the accuser, feeling that Kobe was using his fame and power to try and escape justice. It was a really polarizing case.
Back then, social media wasn't what it is today, but I bet those online forums and message boards were absolute shit shows.
Oh, absolutely. People were going at it, throwing out conspiracy theories, arguing about the evidence, and just generally losing their minds. It was a prime example of how quickly public opinion can spiral out of control, especially when you've got a celebrity involved.
And the mainstream media? How did they handle this whole mess?
The media coverage was insane. It was 247 Kobe for months. Every little detail was analyzed, debated, and sensationalized. The accuser's life was dissected. Kobe's every move was tracked. It was like a feeding frenzy.
It's messed up how the media can turn these cases into a circus, focusing more on the drama than the actual issue.
You're right, and unfortunately, the accuser often ends up paying the price. In this case, her identity was leaked multiple times despite efforts to protect her privacy. She was subjected to public scrutiny and attacks, adding another layer of trauma to an already horrific experience.
That's fucked up. It's like she was being victimized twice, first by the alleged assault, then by the media and the court of public opinion.
Exactly. It highlights the potential consequences for victims who come forward and the ways in which the system can fail to protect them.
Okay, so the criminal case gets tossed, the civil suit is settled, and the media moves on to the next big scandal. But what about Kobe? Did this whole thing leave a permanent stain on his legacy?
It's a tough question. Immediately after the allegations surfaced, there was definitely a backlash. Some sponsors dropped him and his public image took a hit. But Kobe, being Kobe, worked his ass off to rebuild his reputation. He focused on his basketball career, his family, and some philanthropic efforts.
Yeah, the Mamba mentality in full effect. He pushed through the controversy and kept winning those championships.
His talent and dedication to the game were undeniable. However, for some people, those sexual assault allegations never really went away. They continued to cast a shadow over his accomplishments.
So on one hand, you have this basketball god breaking records and winning titles.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's this dark cloud hanging over him.
It created a strange duality in his public perception. He was revered for his athletic achievements, but for some, there was always this lingering question mark, this sense of unease.
And this whole duality thing played out in a big way after his death.
Yeah, absolutely. When Kobe tragically died in that helicopter crash in 2020, there was an outpouring of grief and tributes from all over the world. But amidst the mourning, the sexual assault allegations resurfaced. It was unavoidable.
Yeah, it was like this elephant in the room that people didn't want to acknowledge during this period of mourning.
It sparked a lot of debate. Some people felt it was disrespectful to bring up the allegations so soon after his death, while others argued that ignoring them would be a disservice to the accuser and the entire conversation surrounding sexual assault. It was a really difficult and complex situation.
So even in death, Kobe couldn't escape the shadow of this case.
It became an integral part of his complex and multifaceted legacy. It's a reminder that even our idols, our heroes, are human beings capable of both good and bad.
All right, so we've talked about the media circus, the public's divided reaction, and the impact on Kobe's image. But let's go back to something you mentioned earlier, the defense's focus on discrediting the accuser. What did that actually entail?
It involved using tactics that sadly are all too common in sexual assault cases. They attacked her character, questioned her motives for accusing Kobe, and implied she was promiscuous and unstable. They brought up her mental health history to suggest she might be unreliable or prone to making things up.
So basically, they threw everything they could at her, hoping something would stick and make her look bad to the jury.
That's the unfortunate reality in many of these cases. The victim's credibility is often put on trial, forcing them to defend their character and relive traumatic experiences under intense scrutiny.
It's fucked up that the victim often ends up feeling like the one on trial.
It can be incredibly grueling and demoralizing, and it's a major reason why many survivors choose not to report their assaults or pursue legal action.
This whole situation makes you wonder if the legal system is really designed to deliver justice for survivors of sexual assault.
It's a valid question. The Kobe Bryant case is just one example that exposes the systemic issues that often make it so difficult for survivors to get justice. The burden of proof is often placed on the victim, who is subjected to intense scrutiny and character assassination. The legal process can be long, expensive, and emotionally draining.
So what can be done to change this messed up system?
There are a lot of things we can do. We need to educate people about consent, challenge rape culture, and create a legal system that is more trauma-informed and supportive of survivors. We need to hold perpetrators accountable for their actions regardless of their status or wealth.
It's about time we shift the focus from blaming and shaming victims to believing and supporting them.
Absolutely, and creating a culture where consent is not just expected, but enthusiastically given.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. The facts of the case, the media frenzy, the impact on Kobe's legacy, and the bigger issues surrounding sexual assault. But there's one thing we haven't really talked about yet, and that's the role of race in all of this.
You're right. That's a crucial aspect of the case that deserves attention. It often gets overlooked.
All right, let's unpack this racial dimension then. How did race play into the public's perception of Kobe and the accuser?
Well, you have to remember that Kobe was a black superstar, and the accuser was a young white woman. This racial dynamic inevitably played a role in how people viewed the case and the individuals involved.
So you're saying there was a racial bias at play?
It's hard to definitively say, but there's no doubt that race influenced public opinion. Some people felt Kobe was being targeted because of his race, while others saw the case as a reflection of the historical power imbalance between black men and white women in America.
Damn, this adds another layer of complexity to an already complicated situation.
It shows how race, gender, and power intersect in cases of sexual assault. It's rarely straightforward.
It's a recipe for disaster. You've got a black superstar accused of assaulting a young white woman. The media goes ballistic. Public opinion is split along racial lines, and the legal system grinds on, seemingly oblivious to the complexities of the situation.
It's meth. It was a perfect storm of controversy, and it ignited some crucial conversations about race, gender, and power in America.
All right, so where do we go from here? What lessons can we learn from this case that can help us move towards a more just and equitable society?
This case underscores the need for a deeper and more nuanced understanding of sexual assault, an understanding that acknowledges the complexities of race, gender, and power dynamics. It also highlights the importance of believing survivors and creating a system that supports them, not silences them.
Powerful stuff. Thanks for sharing your insights, expert. This has been a real eye-opener.
It's been my pleasure.
All right, folks, that's a wrap for part 2 of our deep dive into the Kobe Bryant sexual assault case. Stick around for part 3, where we'll explore the long-term consequences of this case, the lessons we can learn from it, and the ongoing debate about Kobe's legacy. Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into the Kobe Bryant sexual assault case. We've covered the initial events, the legal battle, the media circus, the public reaction, and the impact on Kobe's life and legacy. Now let's talk about the long-term consequences. This wasn't just some tabloid scandal, it sparked a much bigger conversation about sexual assault. Expert, what lasting impact did this case have on that conversation?
I think this case, along with other high-profile incidents around the same time, really forced society to confront some uncomfortable truths about power, privilege, and consent. It highlighted how systemic issues often prevent survivors from getting justice and how deeply ingrained victim blaming and rape culture are in our society.
It was like a wake-up call, a slap in the face for everyone to start paying attention.
You could say that it definitely fueled a lot of important conversations about the need for better education around consent, stronger support systems for survivors, and a legal system that's more trauma-informed and actually delivers justice.
Did this case lead to any specific legal reforms or policy changes related to sexual assault?
While there weren't any sweeping legislative changes directly tied to this case, it contributed to a growing awareness and a push for reform. Advocacy groups continued to fight for better laws, improved training for law enforcement, and in greater resources for survivors.
So it was more about shifting the cultural landscape than changing specific laws.
Exactly. It's about changing attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors. Ultimately, it's about creating a culture where sexual assault is not tolerated, where survivors are believed and supported, and where perpetrators are held accountable no matter who they are.
That's a tall order for sure.
Yeah.
But these high-profile cases can be catalysts for change, right?
Absolutely. They shine a light on the cracks in the system and force us to confront the problem head on.
But let's be real, we've seen countless high-profile sexual assault cases over the years. Has anything really changed? Are we making actual progress?
It's tough to say. There have been some positive developments. There's greater awareness of the issue, more open dialogue, and increased support for survivors. The hashtag #MeToo movement, for example, was a turning point. It empowered survivors to come forward, share their stories, and demand accountability.
Yeah, hashtag #MeToo is a game changer. It showed the world just how widespread the problem is and forced people to listen.
Exactly. It created a sense of solidarity among survivors and shifted the conversation in a significant way.
But we still see victim blaming happening all the time. Powerful people often seem to get away with it, and the legal system still fails to deliver justice in many cases.
You're right. We still have a long way to go. We need to keep challenging rape culture, dismantling systems of oppression, and fighting for policies that truly protect and support survivors. It's an ongoing battle.
It sounds like it. So we've talked about the impact on the conversation around sexual assault.
Yeah.
But let's circle back to Kobe one last time. We've discussed his career, his image, his legacy. But what about Kobe the person? How do you think this whole experience shaped him?
It's impossible to know for sure, but I think this case had a profound impact on him. He went through a very public and humiliating ordeal. It forced him to confront his actions and their consequences.
Do you think he ever truly acknowledged the harm he caused, even if he maintained his innocence?
It's hard to speculate on what was going on in his head. In his public apology, he did acknowledge the pain the accuser had experienced, even while maintaining his innocence.
It was a carefully crafted statement, a tightrope walk between expressing remorse and defending himself.
Right. It's a delicate balance to strike in those kinds of situations.
In the years following the case, did you see any evidence of Kobe changing, growing, learning from this experience?
It's always difficult to judge someone's internal transformation, but from what we could see, he seemed to dedicate himself to his family, his philanthropy, and trying to be a better person.
So maybe he found redemption in his own way.
Redemption is a complex and personal journey. Ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide whether or not they believe Kobe atoned for his past.
Fair enough. You've given us a lot to think about today, expert.
Yeah.
As we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main takeaway? What should our listeners remember about the Kobe Bryant sexual assault case?
I think this case serves as a powerful reminder that even our idols are human beings. They are flawed, capable of great things, but also capable of making terrible mistakes. This case also reminds us that sexual assault is a complex issue with far-reaching consequences, and it challenges us to examine our own biases and beliefs.
Damn, that's deep. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they try to process all of this?
Stay critical of the information you consume, engage in respectful dialogue, and never stop learning and growing. And most importantly, be kind to one another and to yourselves.
Well said. That's some solid advice. All right, folks, that concludes our deep dive into the Kobe Bryant sexual assault case. It's been a wild ride, filled with twists, turns, and a whole lot of uncomfortable truths. We dug deep, explored the evidence, the legal battles, the media frenzy, and the impact on Kobe's life and legacy. This case wasn't just about one man or one incident. It sparked a crucial conversation about sexual assault, power, privilege, and the systems that often fail survivors. It's a conversation that needs to continue. So let's keep those minds open, those hearts compassionate, those conversations going. We'll catch you on the next deep dive. Peace out.